Hello. As part of going back to ships I haven't featured in a while, today I am featuring the Scharnhorst, a tier 7 premium. That is one of the ships I recommended when it was released, and it's one of the ships I still consider to be extremely fun and overall quite strong. The Scharnhorst was never really a ship I considered straight up overpowered because, well, while it has fast reloading guns, and 9 of them, the issue was always that the caliber on them is 283 millimeters, which means any competent foe who angles against the Scharnhorst will be able to mitigate much of the damage that it deals. In fact, in the last ranked season, or well, the last time when tier 7 was in the last ranked season, I consider the Nagata to actually be stronger than the Scharnhorst, simply because of the Nagata's capacity to punish not just smoked up ships, both these ships can do it, but more on the fact that he was able to punish angled ships much heavier than the Scharnhorst ever could. Also because there were so many battleships in that meta, the Nagata was of course better at dealing with them than the Scharnhorst. However, that doesn't mean that the Scharnhorst is a bad ship. No, the Scharnhorst is a very strong ship, and I enjoy it a lot. It's kind of a hybrid between a cruiser and a battleship, something people often call a battle cruiser. But in a sense, compared to the actual battle cruisers in this game, the Scharnhorst is a lot more fun to play because it's so damn tanky. It has the turtleback armor, it has overall Gneisenau's very tanky armor scheme, it's got really good anti-air, it's got good firing angles, it's fast, it handles pretty well, and when you go for the build I recommend, which involves concealment, it's also quite stealthy. And of course, carriers don't really want to drop one of these because, well, the anti-air. So overall, a pretty damn strong premium, but not an overpowered one, so that's obviously things that I all like and things that I will recommend. So, but moving on, how do you actually play this ship? Well, first of all, as you can see, my concealment is pretty damn good. That's because I like concealment expert on this ship. In fact, I'm still using the Berserker build. I made the Berserker build for both the Tirpitz and the Scharnhorst to be used on both ships. But with the change, of course, to secondaries being viable on the Tirpitz, I don't really use it on the Tirpitz anymore. But I still consider my Berserker build to be the absolute best one for the Scharnhorst, because it just synergizes extremely well with this ship. The fast reload is, of course, one of the key staples of this ship. The ability to just constantly hammer out shells. I see a lot of people use HE a lot in the Scharnhorst. And I see a lot of people sit very far back using HE, and both of these things are just not recommended. I will use HE at times in this vid, but I will explain when and why I use it. Most of the time in random battles, if your target angles and you have AP loaded, then you can just select another target instead. Instead of trying to just hammer the same target. There's no real need for you to focus on the same target constantly. You want to deal damage to any broadsiding target within your range, and thanks to the very comfortable range of the Scharnhorst, this should really never be an issue. You shouldn't have issues finding a target that you can shoot, and in the worst case, well, you can take a break from the shooting and just disappear from vision, reposition, whatever. In fact, I boldly reversed and repositioned myself here, not because I was grounding, but because there was really no threats to me at this point. In fact, you saw me shoot there, I remained undetected because I'm behind the islands, and honestly, I kind of take everything I've learned from playing a cruiser, and I use a lot of those things when I play the Scharnhorst, because it does kind of feel like a cruiser. The turret traverse is excellent, and that's something that you really need to be using. In other battleships, it can be awkward to switch targets quickly. Like if you shoot the target and he angles, it might take you really long to switch your guns to another target that's on the other side of the map because of the slow turret traverse. But that's never an issue on the Scharnhorst. On the Scharnhorst you just pick and choose and shoot whatever. I keep hoping for this Emil Bertin to give me more broadside, but he continually remains angled. However, luckily just as I fire he turns, which gives me a lot more damage than I expected. In general, you kind of want to wait for those broadsides before you actually fire. Gaeda leaves my range, so I'm undetected once more. Now, the camo I'm running is of course the Victory Day camo, in case you're wondering. It's the one that was sold on EU during Victory Day. and it's a fantastic camo. You might see me, by the way, repairing a lot of first fires in this vid. That's something I usually advise against. Now, the reason I do it is because in these situations I have been extremely safe, really far away, and at very extremely minimal risk of being set on fire again. In general, a rule of thumb is you never want to repair a single fire. But when you are in safe positions, like I am here, with very small chance of follow-up damage, you can do it. But usually the safest thing is to never repair fires, or single fires. Always save it for the double fires. But in this case, I am comfortable enough with my positioning and my safety that I constantly repair these single fires without any issues. And as you can see so far, I haven't been punished for it at all. And the reason for this is, of course, I'm trying to conserve as much HP as possible. I want to delay having to use my first heal as long as possible, because I see this becoming a pretty damn long game. Now in this case, I switched to HE. That's because the Nagato is moving very slowly. He's reversing, which means I will be able to shoot at him for a long time without any issues. Second of all, there's really no other really juicy target. There's the Myoko really far away, sailing behind an island right now. You can see him on the minimap. But in general, I don't have any real better target. So this is one of those few cases where I will switch to HE. But honestly, especially at long ranges, at close range, HE can be somewhat okay because you can land enough hits to actually have a decent chance of getting fires. But at these long ranges, when you're gonna land just a handful of shells, the fire chance is so small, with such a small fire percentage, that it's really not worth going for it. I land 3 shells, the damage is but ultimately though, I switch back to AP as soon as the Myoko comes around the corner, because he's of course a much better target than the Nagato is. And in general, I dislike using HE too much on this ship. Now you can see my team is pushing. In fact, if you look at the minimap, you might notice I'm kind of positioned in the middle of all my teammates. And this is a pretty solid position to be in. This Gneisenau in front of me is completely overextended. Usually you kind of want to be among the front of the pack. You kind of want to be in there leading the charge with other ships. But this Gneisenau is in a terrible position, so I don't want to be pushed up as deep as he is. He's already dead. I don't know if he understands that at this point. When you push in as deep as the Gneisenau in front of me, you put enemies on all sides of yourself. They have multiple deities there. He has no backup, no escape. He is going to die. Absolutely no doubt about that. And well, you can see what happens when you push into this many deities. It's just a torpedo super there, and he's being hammered and shelled from all sides. So I start slowing down and turning away because, well, I don't want to get stuck in this. I can already see that this fight is turning against my team heavily, and there's really nothing I can do about it. The Nagato does give me a bit of broadside, so AP of course deals much more damage than any sort of HE spam. The Gneisenau, as expected, goes down, and well, the Hatsuharu is pushing into their camp, which is admirable, but with this many enemies around, in fact, and the fact that they have 2 DDs there as well, I don't really see that ending up too well. I'm probably gonna ground here, but it's not really an issue because I'm undetected. I shot before gliding behind the island. I do get spotted now, but I'm angled and hidden from everything except this T-22, which I'm gonna see if I can punish. He turns away just as I fire. Dispersion doesn't really favor me too much either. Of course, while the Scharnhorst has an excellent 2.0 Sigma, which makes it quite accurate, and it has 9 guns and a really fast reload, it's still a battleship. You don't have cruiser dispersion, you have battleship dispersion, and it does show in situations like that. A cruiser would have probably pretty easily landed the majority of the shells there, but a Scharnhorst does not, because, well, battleship RNG. Anyway, managed to reposition and I'm turning away. The Murmansk and Graf Spee are still pushing on this flank, and honestly I just attribute that to poor situational awareness. They have 3 battleships, they have 2 DDs, well, now they have 1 DD, and a cruiser at least waiting for them there. So those completely unfavorable situations. The Murmansk already goes down, now it's just the DD and the Graf Spee. And I'm trying to help them as much as I really can, but you can see from the way I'm sailing, from the way I'm angling, I'm already trying to disengage from this fight. And this is something though you see quite often, and this is sometimes pretty hard to recognize. When is your team at a disadvantage and when are they at an advantage? And when your team doesn't recognize this, well, you should pretty much do what I'm doing here, which is you try to help them as much as possible, because abandoning them completely means that we get nothing out of this. Instead, I'm trying to deal as much damage to them as possible and help to the enemy and help my team out as much as possible here. But I also recognize that it's an unwinnable fight, which is why I'm actively still disengaging. I'm not sailing right, like straight away to the east, but I am moving towards the ships down south to fight them instead. I killed the guy, which was their last DD, so that's pretty useful. But we can already see people are dying. In fact, it was down south the Nagata died. In this case, you notice I'm flanked by two sides of battleships, but I kind of planned on this because I'm not going to stay like this for long. At the moment, the ships up north are still focused on killing the Graf Spee and the Hatsuharo in our spawn, and as long as they're focused on doing that to stop the cap and prevent the cap, I will exploit this broadside and deal as much damage to them as possible. Now, however, Hatsuharo goes down, and it's really just the Graf Spee left, so I already start turning left. Because, as I predicted already a while ago, this fight is going down the drain, and there's really no way of salvaging this. In standard battles, if you do these kind of pushes into the enemy spawn, you have to have the same equal numbers or bigger, and they had less numbers, but still tried to make this push. So it was obviously not going to work. So I shoot my last volley and I turn away, because now I'm 1 versus 4. And that's completely unwinnable. So I angle towards all the ships in their spawn, and I instead move towards these guys in our spawn and see if I can help them. Because in this case, as you can see, I'm actually able to get a good angle on this Gneiser now, while at the same time disengaging from the enemies behind me. And here, being so conservative with my HP early on, meaning instantly repairing the fires and saving my heals, comes in useful, as now I have a lot of HP, because we are down 4 versus 6. Well, now we're down 4 versus 5. The problem is they have 4 battleships and we have 2. So that's not exactly too good. The Gneiser now angles towards me because of all the hits he gets. I'm hoping Nagato is able to punish him, but he goes down as well. So now we're 3 versus 5, and I'm the only battleship, and we are against 4 battleships and a cruiser. So obviously a pretty rough situation. I focus fire the plane, because if fighter's plane is up, he can spot my torps instantly. If your plane's spotted and you launch torps, your torps get spotted instantly. So the first thing I do before I launch my torps is focus fire the plane down, and then I slow down. Yes, I'm gonna eat some damage from behind me, but I need to make sure that I don't die to his torps. And my torps finish him off. He couldn't see them because I killed the plane. And because I slowed down and turned into him, I dodge his torps. As soon as his torps are spotted, I accelerate again. Yes, I'll eat some damage from the guys behind me because of this, but I am angled, I'm angled towards both the ships behind me and the ships in front of me. So now we're down to a 2 versus 4. Still a very hard situation, considering the only thing I have helping me is a DD. He's too far away to be able to smoke me, and in general, all the guys behind me are just going to be shooting me. I make small changes to my course all the time to make it less easy for the people behind shooting me, but mostly I'm focusing on creating as much distance between me and them, and closing the distance between this Gneiser as fast as possible. The reason here is obvious. I want to help my Akatsuki, and in this case, when we're fighting down in the south, we're 2 versus 1, whereas if I turned around and fought the guys behind me, I'd be 1 versus 3, and this guy would be 1 versus 1. So instead of trying to force such unfair odds, I instead try to go for the best odds for my team, in this case fighting this guy. Now, in case you didn't notice there, the Gneiser now ate a torpedo from the Akatsuki. I'm not certain, but I am guessing that because he ate the torpedo, the Gneiser now doesn't have the best torp protection. He probably is flooded and he had to repair it. So I start shooting HE. You can already see some backseat admiral in my chat being very angry and telling me, I should shoot AP, you should shoot AP. There's always these kind of people who don't have, one of them calls me a retard, the Nagata calls me a retard, because he doesn't have the same awareness as I do, and he didn't realize that I saw the Gneiser now eat a torpedo, which means he most likely got a flooding. I write quickly, he got a flooding, you potatoes, because clearly they didn't understand what's going on. I get my first fire on him. If I get a second fire, I will switch to AP, and I aim for the back of his ship, since I already got a fire on the front of his ship. The Spee tries to backpedal a bit, but he clearly didn't understand what was going on at all. So I, in a very humble and diplomatic way. I explained to them that I do not require their helpful commentaries anymore. Switch to AP and pop a heal. I get a second fire, as I said. AP gets mostly bounced because he's still angled, as kinda expected, but there's no point shooting any more HE since I already have the 2 unrepairable fires that I wanted, and as long as I remain angled, my fires will kill him. As you can see, he's quickly burning down since he has no repair. My assumption about the flooding was correct. And he gives so much broadside that I am able to finish him off with my AP. I am, however, still detected, which is an issue. I want to turn around and fight the guys behind me, but as long as I'm detected, giving broadside is risky. So I focus fire both the planes. First the left one, then I focus fire, first the right one, then I focus fire the left one. As soon as the planes are shot down, this is when I make my turn. This was very important because I'm still outside of their detection range. And now they reach my spotting range, but I have already started my turn. I have already started my full turn, so by the time they see that I am turning and they aim and shoot, it's already too late for them because I have avoided that danger zone of giving full broadside. You see, they shoot, but it's too late. I managed to angle enough to bounce it. So it's very important to keep in notice what is exactly spotting you, what is it that is keeping you spotted at the time, and you get rid of that first before you start turning. Because turning when the Colorado and Gneisenau and Koenig is all waiting for you with AP loaded, giving that full turn when I only have this little HP is a very good way of getting killed real fast. At this point we're down to 2 minutes left. The enemy still has a point lead, a like 8-point lead at this point, so my job is not done yet. I finished off the Koenigs for the Kraken, but I still need to kill the Gneisenau. The Gneisenau understands that I am pushing, and thanks to saving up these heals and using them conservatively, I'm still able to heal up and regain a lot of health here. So I close the distance on the Gneisenau and I try to punish him as heavily as possible. He's forced to turn away because of this, and in turning away he gives me a lot of broadside. I know he's going to shoot at me again because he has 2 turrets in the front. You see he's turning to shoot. I wait for his turn, and when he's committed to turn, that's when I fire and I catch him in the broadside, well, almost in the broadside. I aimed a bit high to get a lot of superstructure hits because I knew I could probably not penetrate his belt from that angle. So because of his turn, I'm able to punish and kill him. And at this point we have gotten a lead. We have now almost a 100-point lead because of that kill, and the game is pretty much won. There's a minute left, but honestly, these guys in chat keep telling me what to do. I kind of looked at the Nagato. He has a 45% win rate, which might explain some of his not very intelligent commentary, but I just tell him, nope, I'm gonna kill him. I have no interest in pussying around, so to say. I still have plenty of health, and I'm very confident in my capacity to tank and angle in this ship. So I wait until the Colorado shoots. That's his volley shot right there. I shoot at his broadside. Unfortunately, I only get 1 penetration. And while he is reloading, this is important, while he is reloading, I angle, or I turn and use my left side torpedo. And I knew I could do this safely because I just saw him shoot. And now, by the time his guns have reloaded, I have already angled right back in. So when he tries to fire again, I will already be angled towards his shells. And my predictive torps from the left side are catching him by surprise. You see, I angled his shells as predicted, and now I turn for my right side torpedoes, which will kill him and finish him off. My heal also came up, but sadly the game ends before I actually am able to kill the Colorado, which is a shame, of course, because I would have loved to get all the 7 kills in this game. Still though, the game ends 688 credits, which is 688k credit, which is nice. 10k XP. I think this was my first win of the day on the Scharnhorst, but I didn't have too big of a bonus. 183,000 damage in a game where we were down 2 versus 5 or something. So a very satisfying result. I get the usual high caliber, Kraken, Confederate, and Dreadnought. And I even got the first blood, which is always an additional nice bonus. You note, by the way, that I only shot down 3 planes, but all of those planes were highly important plane kills that I made sure to snipe down so that I could regain my concealment at the times when I needed it. Team score wise, 2.7k base XP, which for a standard battle is actually pretty nice, because in standard battles you don't really get those capping and defending capture point bonuses that you get in domination. So for a standard battle, 2.7k XP is pretty damn nice, especially considering the situation we were in. And moving on to the detailed report. The detailed report tells a bunch of pretty interesting stories. First of all, I tanked 86,000 damage, which is pretty okay, not the highest amount, but more important is my potential damage, 2.9 million potential damage. And this is what I mean when I say that the Scharnhorst is a ridiculously tanky ship as long as you play it well. An angled Scharnhorst is so hard to deal with, and this is of course why I love the ship. It rewards angling so very well, and well, 2.9 million is a pretty absurd amount for a tier 7 ship. The only thing that can beat this when it comes to feels of tankiness is the hood, but that is a different story. Damage wise, very little HE damage, 15k, vast majority is AP damage, not surprisingly. Some torpedo hits, not a lot of damage. And worth noting is that the fires that I did cause quite a lot of damage, almost 15,000 damage with the fires I did cause, because I mostly tried to use them in situations that heavily favored fire usage. You saw the only times I used fire was angled Nagato, couldn't shoot at anything else, and finally a Gneisena that had gotten a flooding, so I knew he couldn't repair. Other than that, purely AP, and that's what I recommend. Don't be fooled by other potatoes shooting a lot of HE. I do not recommend it. Scharnhorst HE is not that good. To put it quite simply, it's still German HE we're talking about. Anyway, let me move on to my recommended build for the ship. It's still my Berserker build, but knowing YouTube, probably a bunch of new viewers who might not know about my build, so I'll just rehash it real quick. Right, starting off, we of course have the modules. Not much to talk about here. Consumable wise, premium repair, followed by premium heal, if you can afford it of course, and finally spotter plane, not catapult fighter. The reason I use spotting aircraft is to be able to shoot ships hiding in smokes. I refer to my Nagato guide, in which you can see how I use spotting planes to kill cruisers hiding in smokes. And you don't really need the catapult fighter on the ship because, as I said, it already has quite good anti-air, so there's really no need for the additional anti-air defense that catapult fighters offer. Hence why I prefer the spotting aircraft on the Scharnhorst. But as you can see, I don't really use it too much, especially not for shooting long-range targets, because, well, the shells aren't really that useful at those max ranges. You saw it in the game, I didn't even use it once. So this is more of a dealing with smokes than anything else. Upgrade wise, main armaments mod 1, not so much to keep your turrets alive, but more focused on helping keep your torpedo launchers alive, because they tend to break quite easily. Aiming systems mod 1, better dispersion, and of course better torpedo tubes traverse speed and a bit of secondary. Basically you get all the benefits from this one. Damage control 1, and finally Rudder Shift. One of the battleships I do run the faster rudder shift time on, and this gives you a pretty damn nice rudder shift of 11.6, which combined with the speed on the Scharnhorst gives it this cruiser-like feel and makes it feel really fast and nimble, which is something I really enjoy about this ship in general. Captain perks wise, I'm still running my Berserker build, which first priority is of course preventive maintenance. Once again, help with torpedo tubes staying alive mostly. It does help with the turrets of course as well. Adrenaline rush for that faster reload, followed by superintendent, that additional heal. Concealment expert to get that really juicy stealth, which is actually quite good. In fact, if we look at it here, we can get 13.1 km concealment, which is pretty damn good for a tier 7 battleship. Manual AA to deal with planes, because most of your DPS is on these big guns, and doubling the damage of these big guns gives you so much more anti-air. It's by far the best perk when it comes to dealing with planes. Vigilance, because, well, torps are of course a threat since you are a battleship. And finally, the last 2 points into high alert for that faster damage control. And also, when you do things like I do, like sometimes in very rare cases, note that I do not recommend it to be used often, but when you do repair single fires, it does come up significantly faster. In fact, if you do run the flag, let's see, am I running it? Yeah, I'm running it high. If you do run the November Foxtrot flag, you actually get a very nice cooldown of 68 seconds on your repair, which is almost as fast as the Cruiser Premium repair, which is 60 seconds. And the idea, of course, of this build is to make the Scharnhorst very tanky, stealthy, able to deal with any situation and any foe carriers, DDs, thanks to the Rudder Shift, and pretty much everything. So, and deal with HE spam thanks to the faster repair and so forth. And overall, I have loved this build. It's still the build that I recommend. I called it the Berserker build, and I still think it fits the name. The lower you get this ship, the more deadly it becomes, thanks to Adrenaline Rush. And it's still my recommended build for this ship, absolutely. Anyway, that was my Scharnhorst commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it.